Hi everyone, it is Amber here. So I didn't make my goal of finishing the Ruth Bader Ginsburg in 2020. Whoops, I had so much going on, I totally forgot. I should have done it in the morning, but I wasn't even thinking. So I'm going to finish it now since it is the second day of the new year. So I'm close, even though I didn't reach it. All right, here we go. Chapter 8. Oys, oys, oys. Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg arrived at her first Supreme Court hearing in October 1993. Oys, 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 called out the marshal to open the court session. Oys means hear ye. It's pronounced oh yay. Oopsies, it's oh yay, oh yay, oh yay. I said it totally wrong. Everyone in the courtroom stood as the 9 justices entered and took their seats. As the newest justice, Ruth sat at the far end of the long, curved bench. She was easy to spot. Ruth, along with Sandra Day O'Connor, wore a white lacy collar over her black robe. It didn't take long for Ruth to speak up. The Supreme Court's new term is off to a roaring start, observed one famous lawyer and writer. In her first hour on the bench, Ginsburg asked 17 questions. This was more than some judges asked in weeks. Collars tell a story. A judge's robe was designed for men to wear. It has an opening at the neck for a shirt and tie, so Ruth wears lace or beaded collars to give the robe some female flair. Sandra Day O'Connor started the tradition. Beyond fashion, Ruth's mini collars speak a language all their own. A white lace collar tells people she agrees with the winning side. Her black beaded bib collar lets people know she disagrees. A gold collar dangling with beads means she will announce the majority opinion. Ruth loved her new job. I think I have the best job in the world for a lawyer, she said, but the workload was fierce. A team of 4 young clerks and 2 secretaries helped out. Some of her staff juggled work and caring for young kids at home, just as Ruth used to do. Now her younger child, James, was 28. So Ruth let her staff set their own hours. 28. Jeez. Okay. Countless decisions had to be made every day, starting with which cases the Supreme Court would hear. The court receives thousands of appeals. It can only decide on about 150 each year. Ruth, along with other justices, accepts the cases that have far-reaching effects across the nation. In 1996, a case came to the court that had special meaning for Ruth. A famous military school, Virginia Military Institute, VMI, wanted to remain all-male. They said female students would destroy the school. Ruth disagreed. If young women could handle VMI's tough program, she should get the chance, Ruth believed. The majority of justices agreed with Ruth. Because of her long history in women's rights, she had the honor of reading the court's opinion from the bench. An opinion is the court's verdict. It was one of her proudest moments. The 9 justices on the court formed a close-knit family. Their unique job brought them together for a lifetime, or until one another retired. Sometimes they disagreed sharply. Ruth never responded in anger. That was just wasted time and energy. She knew differences of opinion were bound to happen on the court. After all, it was complicated to interpret the U.S. Constitution. And so then, here's a picture of the U.S. Constitution. We the people. All right. It was written in 1787 when many modern issues were unheard of. Minority rights, the environment, and unions were just a few. Once Ruth decided on a case, she had to get at least 4 other judges excuse me, 4 other judges to agree with her. The majority rules on the court. 5 out of 9 justices have to agree in order for a case to win. 5 out of 9. Okay. Strong opinions didn't stop the justices from getting along. Ruth said the Supreme Court is one of the friendliest places she ever worked. Holy. Allergies must be kicking in. I'm sorry. That's proven in the robbing room before every court session. Oh, my goodness. The robbing room is like the justice's locker room. Their robes are kept there inside personal lockers. 10 minutes before court time, they gather to slip their robes on over their street clothes. Then a special ritual takes place. It started back in the 1800s. Every justice goes around the room shaking hands with the other 8. Ruth says it shows we are in this together and we revere the court and want to leave in good shape as we found it. A busy schedule kept Ruth glued to her desk until Marty came to her her office, and coaxed her home. On weekends, the two enjoyed an active social life in Washington, D.C. Opera remained their favorite outing. When I am at an opera, I get totally carried away, said Ruth. Backstage visits with the cast were one of the perks of being a well-known justice. Ruth even got to appear in one opera wearing a white wig. Of course, she didn't sing. Okay, so this first one is Antonin Scala and Ruth Bader Ginsburg shaking their hands. And then the second one is when she was in the opera. She must be the one in the middle with the white wig on. Vacations still sometimes brought out Ruth's daredevil side. She parasailed in southern France, whitewater rafted down the rushing Colorado River, and water skied every chance she got. Ruth didn't do anything halfway, whether it was work or play. Okay, so that is the picture of that one. And so I'm just going to show you this picture since there's no period at the end down there, and I don't know where I should stop here. So this says the Chief Justice John Roberts. So we're going to figure out something about that here, okay? In Chapter 9, I Dissent. By 2013, Ruth had already served on the Supreme Court for 20 years. But it wasn't until that year that her fame exploded. It started with a court session on June 25, 2013. Ruth wore her black beaded collar to court that day. It meant, watch out. Chief Justice John Roberts read aloud an opinion agreed upon by 5 justices, a majority. It stripped away parts of the Voting Rights Act. Congress had passed the Voting Rights Act nearly 50 years earlier to make sure that minorities got to cast their votes. This was especially important in states where there had been a long history of preventing certain people from voting. But Chief Justice Roberts said, our country has changed. According to the court's majority opinion, the protections of the past were no longer necessary. I dissent, said Ruth when the Chief Justice finished. To dissent means to strongly disagree with an opinion. Her voice was soft as usual, but the dissent she read aloud spoke with a roar. Discrimination still caused harm in our society, Ruth insisted. Discrimination means acting unfairly to people because of such things as their race or religion or gender. The Voting Rights Act had done a good job of protecting voters all across the country. Destroying the law now would be like throwing away your umbrella in a rainstorm because you are not getting wet. The force of her words rang true to a great many citizens. Suddenly there was a website called Ruth, the notorious RBG. A rap star had gone by a similar name. Soon the first RBG t-shirt appeared, followed by a rap song praising Ruth and her work. All these were created by young people who saw Ruth as a hero who spoke truth to power. Overnight, the justice who had fought for people's rights for decades became the rock star of the court. There she is in her court here. Her picture and initials popped up everywhere, on greeting cards, mugs, totes, bobblehead dolls, action figures, baby clothes, and even tattoos. A popular saying about Ruth also went viral. You can't spell truth without Ruth. That's actually really cool. Ruth had never sought fame. Now she good-naturedly accepted being a pop culture hero. I'm 84 years old, and everyone wants to take a picture with me, she said, laughing. The best part was seeing young people use the power of the internet to make worthwhile social change. Usually Ruth agrees with the majority of the justices. We are unanimous, much more often than we divide 5 to 4, she points out. Still, she's not afraid to dissent if she believes the majority is wrong. Her dissents have power. That written record of her words can influence future courts. The voting public listens to. Citizens can vote for the changes that Ruth urges. Congress hears Ruth's dissent. In 2007, the Supreme Court ruled against a woman named Lily Ledbetter, a factory manager in Alabama. One day at work, Ledbetter discovered her pay was far less than the pay of male managers. Even men she had trained earned more than she did. So Ledbetter filed a lawsuit. Too late, the court said in the ruling. She was supposed to file her complaint 3 months after getting her first paycheck. Instead, she had done it years later. Ruth dissented. From the bench, she called on Congress to fix the loophole in federal law. Congress listened, agreed, and took action. The Ledbetter Fair Pay Act became the first bill that President Barack Obama signed into law in 2009. A picture of the signing hangs in Ruth's chambers today. That's pretty cool. No, that was Barack Obama here, if you guys didn't know. Is it hard on Ruth when the court overrules something very important to her? I'm dejected, but only momentarily, she said. But then you go on to the next challenge and you give it your all. You know that these important issues are not going to go away. They're going to come back again and again. There'll be another time, another day. Okay, Chapter 10, RBG Today. In 2018, Ruth celebrated her 25 remarkable years on the Supreme Court. She was 85 years old. Is Ruth ready to retire? Not at all. She can still pull all-nighters when work piles up. What's her secret for keeping and fighting shape? Workouts with her trainer of 20 years, Bryant Johnson. His nickname for the justice is TAN, tough as nails. Ruth's rigorous routine includes 20 push-ups, knees off the floor, solid planks, and pumping iron. Classical music or the evening news plays in the background. Oh, I need to start doing that kind of stuff. Countless honors and awards have come Ruth's way. One of her favorites was an honorary degree from Harvard Law School, the degree she missed out when she moved to New York. At the ceremony, the famous opera tenor Placido Domingo suddenly began to serenade her. The memory was a glorious high point. I'm just going to show you all the pictures on both pages before I start reading on that second page there. In 2018, a popular documentary movie about Ruth's life, RBG, was shown at theaters nationwide. I have not seen that. I wonder if any of you have. I might have to check it out. It was followed by film about her pioneering legal work for women's rights called On the Basis of Sex. In 2010, Ruth lost her beloved husband Marty to cancer. He had been her best friend for 56 happy years. Her family life remains full and active with her grown kids and 4 grandchildren. Following in her mother's footsteps, Jane attended Harvard Law School and went to teach at Columbia University. James runs a classical music company in Chicago. Ruth's grandkids warmly call their famous grandmother Bubby. Say Bubby. Sometimes Ruth speaks to students and young workers. She encourages them to do something outside yourself, something to make life a little better for people less fortunate than you. That's what I think a meaningful life is. Living not for oneself, but for one's community. Think that again. Let's read that one more time. That's what I think a meaning... Okay, so where was I? Okay, I'm going to reread that. Do something outside yourself. Something to make life a little better for people less fortunate than you. That's what I think a meaningful life is. Living not for oneself, but for one's community. Doesn't that sound just like the life Ruth herself has always led? I think it does. What about you? All right, so that was the end. Obviously, this book was came out before, obviously, 2020, but Ruth had passed away in 2020, and that was why I wanted to try to get this finished by then, but I didn't, but I got her book up there now. Okay, so the timeline of Ruth Bader's life. Okay, guys? In 1933, Joan Ruth Bader is born in Brooklyn, New York. That was 1933. 1950, Celia Armster Bader dies at age 47, one day before Ruth's high school graduation. That was her mother. So her mother died the one day before her high school graduation in 1950. 1954, she marries Marty Ginsburg. So 4 years later. 1955, daughter Jane Ginsburg is born. 1956, enrolls at Harvard Law School. 1957, Marty becomes seriously ill with cancer. 1957, and he died in 2010, right? I don't think it's on there, but I think it was 2010. And I read it, right? I'm gonna have to look. Yep. So 1957 was when he first got his cancer, and he ended up dying from cancer in 2010. Crazy. 1958, Ruth transfers to Columbia University Law School in New York City. 1959, she graduates from Columbia at the top of her class. 1963, Rutgers Law School hires Ruth to teach. 1965, son James Ginsburg is born. So Jane's daughter was 11? No, sorry, 10. She was 10 when her son was born. 1972, co-founds the Women's Rights Project, a division of the American Civil Liberties Union. 1973, argues her first case in front of the U.S. Supreme Court. 1980, President Carter appoints Ruth as a judge on the U.S. Court of Appeals in Washington, D.C. 1993, nominated by President Bill Clinton for the U.S. Supreme Court. And then she was sworn in August 10th, 1993, on the Supreme Court. 2018 celebrates her 25th anniversary on the U.S. Supreme Court. So here's the timeline of the world. 1789, the U.S. Constitution institutes the Supreme Court. 1789. 1837, a series of letters by Sarah Grimke urging equality of the sexes is published. 1868, the 14th Amendment to the Constitution grants the voting rights to men of all races. 1920, the 19th Amendment wins women the right to vote. 1941, in December, the United States enters World War II. The war ends in 1945. 1950, Harvard Law School admits its first women students. 1967, Thurgood Marshall becomes the first African American justice on the Supreme Court. 1969, Apollo 11 lands on the moon. 1975, Bill Gates of Microsoft writes the program for the first personal computer. 1981, Sandra Day O'Connor becomes the first woman justice on the Supreme Court. 2009, in January, Barack Obama becomes the United States' first black president. And then in May of 2009, he nominates Sonia Sotomayor for the Supreme Court, the first Hispanic person to serve on the court. 2010, President Obama appoints Elena Kagan to the Supreme Court. So there's the timeline that I just read off to you guys. And that is the end of the book. So I hope you guys enjoy that, and I'll be back for another one of these books. I'm not sure which one yet, because I haven't looked at them. So I hope you guys all have a great day, and Happy New Year. Happy 2021.